Hi everyone, this is Damien here, coming to you from Belgium once again to make another Lemonade video. Now in this video I will detail the spreadsheet that I used and the calculations I made to come up with Lemonade's product mix and their loss ratio for each separate product line and how they change throughout time. It took a long time to build this model and a lot of paying attention, reading the shareholder letters, listening to the earnings calls and some other sources of information as well. So I really put a lot of time into this. I will share it with you for free. I will show you everything that I did. But if you would like to have access to this spreadsheet and use it, for example, to maybe predict Lemonade's future loss ratio, then I would like to ask you for a donation. So if you think I'm providing you value here, then I would like to ask you for a donation so I can use that money to come to Lemonade's next Investor Day. I would really like to come to New York City. It would be my first time in New York City, and I would definitely want to meet you all and be there to hear about Lemonade's progress and plans for the coming years. But it's quite expensive. As you can understand, I live in Belgium. I have to fly across the Atlantic and stay in New York City, and I don't want to sell any Lemonade shares to do so. So if you could help me out and give me a donation, that would be great. You can just send me a DM here on YouTube or on X, and we can figure out a way for you to send me something, for example, through PayPal or some other way. Okay, let's dive right into the spreadsheet. These two or three graphs, I should say, are the ones that I discussed in the other video. So please watch that first if you haven't done so already. And now let's dive into the calculations. First of all, it's best to start here in Q3 of 22. And you will see there's a lot of columns here in the spreadsheet, and I will go through them all. Basically, the first, let's see, 7 are their loss ratio for each product line. And as you can see, some of these numbers are green, some of these numbers are orange, and some are blue. The green ones are basically things that they disclose, right? So Lemonade has told us these numbers. We can be absolutely certain that these are the correct numbers. Those are the green ones. Then the orange ones are guesses. These are estimates that I made. They are educated guesses, right? And you will see that these guesses are chosen such that the math works out and they are compatible. Everything basically comes out okay, right? It's compatible with the other numbers that they did report. So it's not just pulled out of thin air. A lot of thought and calculation has went into these, but basically we are not 100% sure, and sometimes you can change the numbers a little bit and still come out to the right result. So orange numbers are a bit of a guess, right? This blue numbers here, those are calculations, okay? Calculations, so in this case, the total home gross loss ratio is calculated by taking the home gross loss ratio without the CAT claims and then adding the CAT claims. And we are making the assumption that all CAT claims are home claims, right? So no CAT for car and no CAT for other lines of business. Just it only impacts home, which is a good first order approximation. So for example, 111% plus 24% is 135%. Okay. Now, why do I want to start here? This quarter, well, this quarter was the quarter of Investor Day. And at Investor Day, they gave us more information than they usually do, right? The first Investor Day, which is why here, there's a lot of blue numbers instead of the normal orange ones. This is basically their product mix, right? These columns here. And as you can see, we know that at this point in time, 24% of their book of business was home policies. This is a percentage of IFP, so not a number of policies, it's a percentage of their in-force premium. How do we know this? Well, at Investor Day, they showed us how much premium their home business was generating. So dividing that by their total IFP at the time gives us 24% of their book of business. The same can be done for pets as well as renters and car. As you can see, this also was right after the Metromile acquisition, so we did get some other information by looking at the details of that transaction. So you can see here how I arrived at this 18%. And these are all notes. If you want to get access to the sheet, again, you can make a donation and then you can have full access. Okay, so how can we use these numbers? Well, let's have a look at the last columns here. Here we have a column for their total gross loss ratio excluding CAT, right? And at the time, they didn't really report that, right, in Q3 of 22, but later in 2023, in Q2, in their shareholder letter at page 5 of the appendix, they gave us a graph that showed the total gross loss ratio without the catastrophes going back in time, right? So that's how we know this 88%. And of course, we also know their loss ratio. This was reported at the time, it was 94%. So 88 without the catastrophic events and then 94% with the catastrophic events. Now, the total gross loss ratio is basically a weighted average of all the loss ratios for their separate lines of business, right? So here in the column right next to it, I calculated this weighted average. Okay, so I basically used the loss ratios here for each product line and their the product mix, and I made a weighted average, and it should come out to the number that was reported, right? It should come out to this 94%. So the guesses that we saw here, this one, and this one, these orange numbers, they are chosen such that this weighted average comes out correctly, right? Let's see, am I looking at the right one? Yes. As well as the other one here, which is their total gross loss ratio without the catastrophes. Okay, so looking back here and excluding the catastrophes, then we can take a weighted average. And then you can see that basically only the life gross loss ratio and the car gross loss ratio are unknown because we are excluding the catastrophes. And we are assuming the life gross loss ratio to be constant at 70% throughout. Life is a very small part of their business, so it doesn't really matter that much how much you type in here. It's basically the car gross loss ratio that will be determining this figure here. So since everything has to match, right, what they reported, we have a way to know these orange numbers, right? So that's how I came up with these. And then based on that starting point, we can extrapolate to the quarters previous to this quarter and the quarters that came afterwards. Basically, we have some breadcrumbs that are given in shareholder letters, sometimes in the earnings calls. And then there's something I assumed, which is that in their product mix, basically their product mix cannot change rapidly, right? They have their existing book of business, some customers churn, new customers are added, but since they have a large book of business and the new customers coming in are only a small portion of their existing book of business, we can assume that their product mix changes slowly. So as you can see here, throughout time, with the exception of the Metromile acquisition, which caused a large spike in the car percentage of the book, you can see here that the product mix changes slowly, right? Basically, only 1% each quarter. Maybe now in Q2, but these are just a lot of guesses. Maybe I should just delete them for now because these are quite uncertain yet, or still, I should say. So basically the product mix changes slowly, except maybe now in Q1 they are ramping up their growth spend. They're also non-renewing a lot of home policies. So you can see here that I dropped the home percentage by 2% in a single quarter, but this is really not usual. This is quite an exception. Okay, so yeah, as you can see, some fields have notes attached to them. For example, in this quarter here, which was Q4 of 23, they said on the earnings call that PET, right, so this column, had at least a 9 percentage point improvement from 1 year ago, but not much more. So let's see, 1 year ago we were here at 81%, this was reported. So here we are just improving it by 9 percentage points. Right? The same goes for the renter's insurance. Again, they said it was a 9 percentage point improvement from 1 year ago, but not much more. So 1 year ago we were at 61%, now we are at 52%. Here the 90%, they said the car gross loss ratio had an 18 percentage point improvement from 1 year ago. So they were at 108%, now they are down to 90%. Right? So as you can see, there's some notes here and there, right? From here, for example, this 15 is a green number. This was given to us on the Q4 23 earnings call that car was then 15% of their book. So we know at Investor Day it was 18%. Here it is 15%. So there's a gradual reduction down to this 15%. And all these numbers here, they are all chosen in such a way that they match everything we know, right? So every time I'm calculating those two weighted averages, right? One excluding the cat events and one including the cat events, and it always must come out to this right number. So you can see these are the same, these are the same, these are the same, right? The weighted average should always match the reported numbers. If it doesn't, then I changed here. I played around with the product mix and the loss ratios per product so that it always matches what has been reported, right? And there's so much basically numbers given, right? Things that we know are true, the green ones, and things that we can calculate, the blue ones, that with this small number of assumptions, like for example, the product mix changes slowly throughout time, right? I've managed to fill in all these gaps, and that's how I created these three graphs, right? So I'm quite proud of the work I did here. This is clearly something Lemonade has chosen not to report, and as I discussed in the previous video, you can see why, because it's not always that pretty, right? Especially for car and home, but still we managed to figure it out. Is this perfect? Probably not, right? Sometimes you can change the numbers a little bit and still come out to the same answer. But still, I think it's quite interesting. And if you want to play around with these numbers, you can do that as well. For example, I will give you a little bonus, right? Let's have a look at Q2 of 24. These are a lot of orange numbers, right? Because they haven't told us anything yet. So yeah, we can just guess, right? And see what the total loss ratio should be. As well as in Q1, I should say that there's a lot of orange in the shareholder letter of Q1. They really didn't give us any information that's useful to improve this model. So as you can see, I assumed that the loss ratios for pet, renters, life and car basically remained the same as the quarter before. I only changed some things around with the home gross loss ratios so that the weighted averages would work out. But since we don't have a lot of things to base our guesses on here, these might be off by quite a lot, right? So as well for Q2, these might be off by quite a lot. So let's just assume it's still the same as in Q4 for pet, for renters, for car, and for life. And let's say for home, it's basically the same as it was a year ago, right? Q2 23, let's put in the same numbers for Q2 of 24. Now, there have been more basically catastrophic events this quarter or in Q2 compared to a year ago, but there have also been rate hikes, so that should lower the loss ratio. And then, of course, we also have the declining percentage of the book of business, right? I think by now homeowners is probably around 16% of their book of business. And as you can see, I dropped it rapidly here. Why? For two reasons. Basically, as I discussed in the other video, they are non-renewing a lot of home policies, so it's dropping faster and faster, as well as they are ramping up marketing spend, right, for their other lines. So pets is increasing rapidly now, and renters is increasing rapidly because they are spending a lot on marketing to acquire those customers. And so those are two effects that are leading the home book of business to decrease. And when you plug in these numbers, you can see here that I come out to an 80% loss ratio including the catastrophic events, and a 66% loss ratio excluding the catastrophic events. Now, most people, even the Lemonade Bulls, are expecting a higher number for the loss ratio. So this might be good news, but I would hesitate to conclude that this would cause the stock price to rise drastically, because they are spending a lot on marketing and this will impact their bottom line. And those new customers that they are acquiring, they are not really generating a lot of profits yet, because 16% of their premiums are going to the synthetic agent for now, right? If you want to know more about the synthetic agent, you should watch the videos I made on Paperback Investors channel about those. So a lot of their premium for now temporarily is going to the synthetic agent. So this will impact their financials. It might not look great. The market might not understand it. So even though the loss ratio might be better than anticipated for this quarter, because Q2 is normally a quarter with a high loss ratio, you can see that here in the historic numbers as well. Still, this might not be the moment where the stock will rise dramatically. Of course, it could. This is not investment advice. Make up your own mind if you want to use this model to increase the chances of you predicting something well. You are welcome to do so if you would like to give me that donation. Okay, so this is it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you would like to see every note here that is in this sheet, you can, of course. I've managed to, or I tried to make it as complete as possible. So I wish you the best of luck in understanding this, and I hope I've created at least some value for you. If you'd like to get in touch with me, you can find me here on YouTube or on X. Bye.